Hello and welcome back. This is Curtis Storr, trainer with Family Investor. We're going to start with a training that's not based on wealth building strategies or numbers. It's called the money mindset. And the reason we're going to start with this is because let me take you back to that point I made about attitude. Most companies fail or succeed depending on attitude. And a lot of that has to do with mindset. And so if we need to get that out of the way before we get started. And I'll get into it here so you can understand what I'm talking about. The toughest lesson to creating wealth, here, let me expand that to where you could see that, is what are your beliefs about money? This change can only happen if you have an open mind, and I mean the money change, and many do not know that they do not have an open mind about money. I mean, sometimes it's so deep, it's subconscious. I've experienced that too, and I used to have limited beliefs about money, and I had to overcome those myself through every training that I've taken. Fix and flip trainings, private lending trainings, even building self trainings, improving my personality and the way I look at things and why do things happen. Every training that I've been through has talked about your mindset. And I used to have all kinds of money blocks, so to say, that I didn't even knew I had. And you could have blocks like the cash hoarder block, that you got to have cash sitting in your bank or there or in your mattress, or the one that has that's afraid of investing because of loss. They focus on the negative things of investing. And some of my friends that have been through these trainings, they have breakthroughs, but many just go back to the comfort zone because that's why it's called a comfort zone. It's comfortable there. And even after leaving those advanced trainings that all of us have attended, that has happened. And it's happened to myself too. It's easy to go to your comfort zone. Well, at Family Investor, our goal is to help you break through the lies that you fed most of your life, and some of them you don't even know they exist. You can do this by breaking through, by educating yourself, and you need to have the awareness that they exist. And like I said, some of them may be subconscious. And we want to make sure that when you go through these trainings that you don't start talking yourself out of things. You don't do what we always do. And the reason you do it, like every time you make a decision, if you're not clear on a decision, most of the time you say no. They even say that in sales, if a buyer has questions and they're unclear, they're going to say no every time. But if they're clear on what they're getting into, your chances of getting a yes is higher. But the same thing with yourself. If you keep telling yourself no, you're not going to do things that can make you wealthy because for some reason you're saying no. And it's probably because you don't have clarity. And we want you to ask all the questions that you need to achieve that. But most of all, you need to do this training. Even if you don't think you have money blocks, do this training. Because if you don't think you have money blocks, those are the worst kind to have because they're so deep in your subconscious, you don't even know they exist. And the only way you're going to do it is by doing this training and taking action. I mean, you have to do something about it. We all do. And you know what? If you do this training and if anything happens, you're going to feel better throughout the day, and you'll see why. Okay, so What I want you to do is stop and do this. You need your notebook, right? And you could probably use your smartphone or tablet or your computer to do this. But we insist on you getting a notebook if you haven't already, because some of the other things I mentioned, you need to pick up a notebook. And the reason for writing it, though, is another way of learning. If you write things down, you learn. I know you're writing it down in your tablet or you're typing it in. It's a little bit different. It really is. They've done studies. I went through the Tony Robbins, writing things down, and use a blue ink. That's it's crazy, but statistics show if you use blue ink, you will remember things better. And on the cover of that, right, My Family Investor Plan to Financial Freedom. That's a bold statement in itself because it's your plan to financial freedom. And you need to have that book and make sure you write your name and contact information, a number on the inside so people can get a hold of you in case you leave it somewhere. I've done that. I have notebooks that I use. I probably have 3 or 4 just sitting here on my desk that I use for the different trainings and things that I do. And if I were to lose one, I'd like to recover all that information. So write your information. And at top of every page, always write the date that you're doing the exercise. And of course, the title of the exercise that you're doing. And I'll say this over and over during the trainings. You'll hear me say that a lot about using your notebook. So go get a notebook. You're going to need one. And here's our first exercise. At the top of the page, write the date. Like I said, you write the date. And in large letters, my why, exclamation point, not question mark, exclamation point, okay? Because this is going to be a statement. And write down all the reasons why you want financial freedom. And reasons that come from your heart, because I'm a logical thinker. A lot of stuff comes right out of my brain, doesn't go through the heart, but the whys that came from my heart were the strongest and the best. They're the ones who really got me through the tough times. And I struggled at it because I'm such a logical person, but why don't you go ahead and stop this video and do this exercise now. Great job. I hope you did the exercise, my why. And many of you chose family. We all do. But now I want you to take those whys, as you said, because of my family, my sister, my niece, my wife, my children. Usually it's children. And write down reasons. Because I don't want to become a burden to my children. Because I want to be able to retire and enjoy myself and my family. And the more specific you get about this, the better. I want to become financially free so I can start financial literacy training company and teach as many people how they too can be financially free. Yes, that's one of mine. I wanted to get to a point where I didn't have to work so I can share what I've learned and help people, younger people hopefully, but even older people my age, get to that freedom where you don't have to work. And I really hope you found a phrase that actually stirred your emotions. Where maybe it's heartfelt, your eyes might start watering. Because the stronger you felt emotionally about your why, the higher your success rate should be. And there's a reason I said should be, because I don't know if those emotions contained some of those money blocks or other blocks that can stop you from achieving your goals. And try to format it in a sentence of your why because ... so ... like I did above here. Okay, now let's get to work. Enough of the, as my father says, preaching. The next level, what you are told about money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money doesn't buy happiness, Curtis. And you should pay cash for everything. And everybody says, God, the rich keep getting richer. I mean, who hasn't heard those sayings? Right? And who didn't hear their parents say money doesn't grow on trees or money doesn't buy happiness? I think I've heard both of them. And those statements come from a scarcity mindset. And it's really not their fault. Many of our parents had to live through the Depression or had parents that did. And these beliefs were passed down to the next generation. And it was passed down to me. And I feel my parents didn't have a lot of money and came from, the Depression era parents, like many others have. And they passed down the saying about money to me like their parents probably did. Their parents probably said the same thing to them. I mean, for the parents out there, you youngsters, you're probably going to say the same thing we did. When I grow up, I'm not going to be like my parents. I'm not going to say those things, certain things that bothered you growing up. And then when you become a parent, you find yourself saying those things. Wow. And the rich keep getting richer because they know the truth about money and experience abundance. They grow up in a lifestyle of abundance, and plus they know the rules of the money game. Two things that we need to shift in order to be rich. It's part of it. I mean, what did you hear growing up? And these are things I want you, and of course I want you to watch this video once. I always tell you, watch it once and then watch it again, then do your notes. But make some notes. What did you hear growing up? Write those things down. And what has happened to you? Because I have had bad experiences in investing. And at a younger age, when I had some bad experiences with stocks, it really turned me away from stocks. It's like, okay, that's my belief now about stocks. But there's some people out there making lots of money in stocks. And there's a lot of people out there losing a lot of money in stocks. I don't know. I am not an expert on investing in stocks. All I know is, one of the things I teach you is negative returns, what that does to your investment. But I digress a little bit. What are you still being told? And it doesn't have to be from your friends. You have friends, and you look at where they're at, and they're saying things like, oh, that won't work. That's the biggest thing. Even it could be your spouse. It could be your brother, your sister. But worst of all, the voice in your head. What is in your head? When they say things to you about money, is that voice in your head agreeing with them? What happens when you deal with finances? Is it usually due to your beliefs? It's a funny thing how you prove our beliefs that are right all the time. For example, if you keep telling yourself you can never save anything, you will unconsciously spend all you have in order to be right. I know it sounds crazy because we always say, oh, I got to save, but then a sale comes up, and I just love it when they say, you saved this much. They forget to say you spend this much. You really didn't save anything because a lot of the products out there you're buying are marked up 100%. Jewelry is marked up 500%. So if they give you half off, they're still making money. If you believe you should be broke, you will be, since you believe that's your destiny. I know I'm getting a little deep here, but let's pause and take a deep breath and think about where you are. You're probably exactly where you believe you should be, right? Whether it's living paycheck to paycheck, or even with lots of cash saved up, or you might be the person with equity in your home but afraid to use it to build more wealth. You're safe. You're in your comfort zone. I grew up hating authority because they were always holding me back. I was a rebel, a troublemaker, always rocking the boat. And that didn't work in corporate America. But the funny thing is that I used to blame them for everything that happened. But looking back, I was the one who created the conflict. I am still a rebel, but I learned to put that drive to use to my benefit and now to your advantage. But you have to open up your mind to new possibilities. The training you'll get from Family Investor isn't just about the math. It will also change the way you feel and think about money. This will not only shift the way you think, but also all around you, people will start changing the way they think, because you'll tell them about this. And they'll also, because once you start shifting the wealth back to yourself and seeing things grow, and you start moving into a positive direction in building wealth from implementing these strategies, you'll have no choice but to talk to people. You'll then be able to tell those naysayers, look, I did it and it's working for me. And the more you achieve, the more you will achieve. Okay, so we're going to stop and do this. You're going to grab your workbook, date and label the page Beliefs About Money. Okay? And what thoughts about money have you heard? Just start jotting those down. You could pause this and start writing those down. Let me finish the slide though before you pause. And what thoughts about money do you say to yourself? Like, I can't get ahead because, that's what I used to say about my job in corporate America. Oh, I can never get ahead because so-and-so's holding me back, or, always someone else. What thoughts about others with money do you think? Man, when I was younger and I got into real estate, we started buying real estate and investing and making money. And one of my friends was driving a Lamborghini. All they said is, those guys must be drug dealers. And it was crazy because it wasn't true, but that's what other people thought, because they had to justify why we were making money driving nice cars and they weren't. Think about it. Have you done that? Write them down. Write them down, and we'll get back to these later. Okay. Some of the things I'm going to cover about things that you're told about money, that I was told about money. Money doesn't grow on trees. Then I met an old guy who was a farmer. He says, all my money grows on trees. Everything I grow is money. So, in a sense, it really does. And it's good to think of it that way, because it's not actual paper money or growing on those trees, but it's converted into money. And so that it's a fun way to start thinking about the positive side of that statement that we were told. And money doesn't buy happiness. Are you kidding? Neither does not having money. And you ask yourself, when are you happier? When you have money or when you don't? Some of you wait for that tax refund and you get all excited about that. That's because you have money. You have more money than you have. You're a notch above being broke. And people who say you got to pay cash for everything. My father, I begged him to buy another house, and he had all this money sitting in the bank saved up, and if he would only had listened to, well, I call her my second mom. It's an Italian lady. She was a real estate agent that I worked for as a little boy cleaning houses, and I learned from her. And I'm going, why do you buy these houses? Because they pay her money. They were buying those houses for her. She was building wealth. And you can't pay cash to buy homes. Well, you can. There's hedge funds and there's family offices, and you're not at that point yet. But they do. They pay cash because they don't like a thing called a burn rate. It's risk. And the rich keep getting richer. Well, that's not all true either, because there's a study the Williams Group did. You can Google this. It found 70% of the wealthy families squander the family wealth by the second generation, and 90% have lost it by the third generation. That means 1 out of 10 wealthy families still have wealth after grandchildren it has passed to them. Same thing goes with lottery winners. Most lottery winners are broke in 5 years. How do you win $100 million and be broke in 5 years? Why? Most of it's because of their beliefs. And a huge part of it is their financial education. They don't know what the effects of buying those multi-million-dollar homes. They're living at a whole different level. And if you don't know how and how to maintain that level, you're going to drop back down to a level. Most of those lottery winners have wished they never won the lottery. Imagine that. Can you think of yourself saying that? I wish I never won the lottery. Most of these lottery winners who have lost it all say those exact words. And the trust fund children, the reason behind that is I can only speculate is that they weren't ever involved in the family business. And they don't know how the wealth was created. They're not educated on this. They grew up with a silver spoon, so to say. And so they just squandered the wealth and blow it all. And then their children don't have an inheritance. They change their legacy. Okay, excuse me. Mistakes we make with money. First of all, we spend more than we earn. And we'll teach you to earn more than you spend. That's what these trainings are about. We show you how to make your money work for you so that your money buys you stuff. Not knowing where your money goes. Big mistake. You have to have an idea where your money is going. And we do an exercise later on that does this. So you'll be surprised. Putting others or your children first. I've done this. It's easy to put others first, and as parents, we want to make sure our children are taken care of, and we and we want them to be happy. So we sometimes spend all this money on them thinking we could, once again, buy happiness. But the best thing you can do for them is to focus on yourself and becoming somebody who is financially savvy, because then they will become that way. They see how you are with money, how you're sad. What are most arguments between spouses over? Money. And they see that. So by putting yourselves first, you and your spouse, it's so much more powerful of an influence on your children than spoiling them. And not having a plan. I have a rock somebody gave me that says if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't have a plan, you're going to fail because you don't know where you're going. You're just going with the flow. And the flow currently is designed to take your money. It's designed that way. So you need to educate yourself. No matter what level you think you're at, you don't know what you don't know. What is the secret to building wealth? It's shifting your thoughts about money. That's you can't fight your belief. If you really believe in something, your subconscious will do whatever it can to steer you in that direction to accomplish that belief. Because it doesn't know it's a bad belief or a good belief. So whatever you think, you're right. I say that to people all the time. You're right. If that's what you think, you're right. Because you can't fight that. When people are stuck on something and they believe it to their core, they're going to be right, even if you can prove them wrong mathematically. Educate yourself. Open your mind just for a second. Let go of some of those thoughts that stop you from letting other thoughts in, for believing. You don't have to give up your belief. Just set it aside a little bit just to listen to another one and see if it makes sense. And when you educate yourself, you'll be able to sit and make decisions in front of advisors or anybody better. You'll feel like the smart one in the room. And most of all, you gotta do. You gotta do. If you want to be rich, you have to do what the rich do. Period. It's I think Will Smith said it. There's nothing out there that hasn't been done. If there's something you want to do, Google it, find a person who's done it and done it well, and do what they did. Ray Kroc, McDonald's, duplication. It's the same thing here in our trainings. But first of all, we've got to get you past your own mindset. Whoops, went too far. Okay, here's your big homework. And obviously, this homework is going to take you 2 weeks. Okay? Make sure you do all your other homework. I'm sorry about that, but it's for your own good. I don't like homework either, but you're working on yourself, you're working on building wealth, and you're changing everybody around you. If you have children, everybody, they're going to, when they see a change in you, they'll change with you. You need to be the leader. So grab your notebook. Okay. Oh, and I said it's going to take 2 weeks to do this homework. So start with your basic training. Dive into the basic trainings, okay? Because while you're doing this homework, you're going to be able to get through your basic trainings and maybe even the deep dive, okay? But write down everything you spend money on for the next 2 weeks. Everything. Just for 2 weeks. And then After the 2 weeks, you're going to come back and you're going to do the second part of this training, which I am going to put the second part of this training in at the end of your basics. Okay? So if you finish this before you finish your basics, this is the one training you could jump to and start. Okay? All right. Well, thank you very much. I enjoy this, but make sure you do this homework. You got 2 weeks. So do your basics. You'll learn a lot of good stuff in your basics, and then we'll get back to the second part of the money mindset. I know you'll be blown away. Thank you.